lines. Now, I had a sink cabinet back here, and if I want to bring it back, I could go up to Edit, Unhide All, and then you see this popped up, so I'd have to click on that, right-click, hide, and there's my cabinet. Now, sometimes things that you've hidden based on if you happen to have them on different layers, it won't come back. It'll be hidden. So let me hide this again. And if you go up and put View Hidden, what you'll do is you'll get this kind of dotted view of it. Now, I can't select it through this wall, so what I need to do is move in here so that I'm on the inside of the trailer. And I can tell that when I can see how that pattern disappeared, because now I'm inside. Now I can click on the top cabinet till I find a place where I can get it highlighted. There we go. Now I'm clear on the inside. Okay, then once I can see that that invisible cabinet is highlighted, I can go up, unhide selected, and okay, didn't show up. Now the reason for that is I actually have this selected too far down in. In other words, notice how the line that is the component line is also dotted. So I'm not on the component. So I'm going to click out here until I can see if I can get to a place where I can get just the component. There. And see, now I was able to get that. Now, here's what I want to show you can do. I'm going to view, get rid of the unhide so I can see the cabinet. So let's say I've done my rough designing, and this is how big I want it to be and the space that I want it to be in. But now what I want to do is I want to be able to design this in much greater detail, so I actually have a model that I can use to build that cabinet from. And while it's inside the model this way, that's a little hard to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight it like this. All right. I'm going to go to Edit, Copy. I'm going to go to Edit, Save to make sure that I've saved what I'm just working on. And you see it's going to take a moment. Then I'm going to go to Edit, New to bring up a new example of SketchUp. Then I'm going to do Edit, Paste in Place. Very important that I paste it in place. Now what I have is a cabinet all by itself to work on. So let's say in this example, I believe the stove was here. So I could highlight that section. I could draw a box for the stove, you know, and exactly the size of the stove, so I would know what that size is. I'm just going to lift this up a touch now to represent the stove. Over here is going to be the sink. And again, I'm not doing these to any particular measurement. I'm just kind of trying to show you how we can work with these things and work with the styling. I need to alter this in my new example. And if I, for instance, if I was making a sink, this would have rounded corners. Now, if you want to round corners and make sure you get them the same roundness on all corners, after you draw this, when you come over and see where the green dot is, that's where the arc meets the straight. Let it sit there for a moment, and then if you bring it across, see how I get that dotted red line? Then that means I'm going to start this one in the same place, and it'll be the same size. And again, I need to get it to that 45 position. And click it in. So I can do the same thing back this way. So you take that, let it sit there for a second or two, and as I bring it back this time, excuse me, I'll get a green line. Okay, because the sink has rounded corners, and then you have to come back and delete the part that's left on the outside. We don't need that anymore. So what I'm trying to show you is a little additional designing. Again, this is kind of for those people who have got their essential shell done and want to start moving with interiors, so to kind of give you some ideas to work with. This edge, usually if it's a stainless steel sink, particularly has a overlap that sits on top of the counter. So I would use my offset tool to get that. And also what happens with a sink is a sink usually tapers in. It's not straight up and down. So I'm going to click this and collect this inner one, use this tool again, and come in with another section, all right, that will represent the bottom of the sink that is slightly smaller than the top of the sink. What we do is then we highlight that, click on the Move tool, grab the corner, left click and hold, and then hit the Alt key. And if you slide right down, and it's a little tricky to get it going in the right direction. Okay, there it is. What happens is it's created the taper. So the inside of the sink is actually, bottom is narrower than the top of the sink, and you get the right function. So that's a really neat function that the tool has. And we could even do the same thing by coming in the center. Now that we've got that, come up and get our circle tool. And how do we know we're in the center? If you take your tool, I'm going to use, see how that tipped? I don't want it to tip, so I'm going to hold Shift, find the center place, let it sit there for a second or two, come down to the other line, find the center, and let it sit there for a second or two. And then usually when you come back here, there you go. You can see where the two cross, and you're actually exactly in the center of that space. So I can let go of the Shift key, click, and draw the circle. And one of the things you want, I see I could draw it with that line here, but if you draw the line so it's going parallel to one of the outside edges of the sink in this case, or whatever you're drawing, you get a better relationship with how the pattern works when you make it. Alright, so now I'm going to double click on this one. Now, again, if I do the move, it usually works better if you don't have another line or something like this right behind to interfere. So I'm going to move it up there. Move tool, alright, hold down the Alt key and draw that straight down. And you'll see what it's done. It's created the slant in the sink that would be necessary there. So you can see it for the moisture to drain down to the drain and down. So you can really do some pretty interesting kinds of things as you're working. Just for sake of what we're doing here, what I'm going to do here is highlight this panel. And again, I'm not doing this to scale or any particular size. I'm just kind of demonstrating some of the tools. And let's say I had a door in here, or a cupboard door that would open. The stove would be pretty deep, so probably the cupboard door would be something about right here. And again, what I can do is I'm going to make that a component. Door in or below stove, maybe.